this week's drive, we join a German tour of some Italian scenery, witness the end of a 20-month race in Germany, watch 6 men fail to win $1 million, and fall down and get back up again in Poland. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start this week with a look behind the scenes at the Ferrari Formula One team to see why they're number one and on the up and up. Michael Schumacher closed in on Kimi Raikkonen's title lead with his 3rd consecutive win and the 67th of a record-breaking career. His teammate Rubens Barrichello is paid to be the 2nd best driver in the world, backing up Michael. The team chose to use their 2002 car for the start of the season, as the F2003 GA hadn't completed its development program. But until Schumacher won the San Marino Grand Prix in the 2002 car's last race, it looked as though Ferrari's domination of the previous year was over. In the new car in Barcelona, Schumacher won comfortably, with Barrichello taking 3rd, a result repeated in Austria. Michael won comfortably, despite having a minor fire during a refueling stop. Despite a crushing 1-2 win, last year's Austrian race was a low point for Ferrari, as Michael was gifted the victory by his Brazilian teammate and generated a torrent of hysteria about team orders and manipulated results. This year, there was no mistaking who won. Michael has said he loves his new car. Rubens isn't quite so emotional, but he's very happy with it.
Well, the new car is a brilliant car, and it's been good to get onto the podium. Basically, I mean, it was the car was feeling very good to begin with. It was using a little bit of too much of the rear tires, a bit of setup adjustment and everything, a bit of a lack of experience with the car, really. But I think, you know, Michael winning and myself finishing on the podium was a positive thinking, and I'm sure this car will win a lot more races this year.
Engineers are usually pretty reserved, but Ferrari's technical director could be excused a degree of satisfaction at the way the new car is performing.
I think with the new car, you know, we had to baptize it somewhere, and that was Barcelona. And you always find when you go to the first race with a new car, you know, there's a lot of fresh challenges, and we've got over that now, and we've settled into testing. The last couple of tests have been pretty solid because we've had no reliability issues. We've been able to do work. We've had several very good days here on the car. So we're becoming more familiar with it. We haven't got the distraction of the old car. We're able to concentrate on this one. So no, we're pretty pleased with the car, and I think from now on we're hopeful the car's just going to improve and improve.
How does Rubens feel about the new system of single flying lap qualifying?
Well, I think the new system is quite enjoyable. I mean, as I said before, I personally don't have as much fun as I used to have in terms of qualifying with a low fuel level. I mean, that's the maximum you can push the car to its maximum, and in terms of enjoyment of driving the car, that's really the max you can get. Right now we're qualifying with a car with a lot of fuel on board, and sometimes a bit of a compromise more than just pushing the car to the limit. So there is a plus and there is a minus.
And car aside, Schumacher's domination over recent years is staggering. This year is the German's worst ever start to a Formula One season, yet he still lies in 2nd place in the drivers' standings, just 2 points behind the consistent Raikkonen, with his teammate right behind him and ahead of Fernando Alonso. Ferrari have reclaimed their now traditional place. McLaren have shown pictures of their new car, but admit that they don't know when it'll race. Next up is the unforgiving Monaco street circuit. the first time, the Adria track in northeastern Italy hosted the DTM series. The pre-race fear among drivers was that overtaking would prove almost impossible on the 2.7-kilometre track. But for some, just getting started seemed the hardest part. Marcel Fassler was aggressively working his way through the field, but this slip lost him a place and time, just as he moved into contention for the lead. Bernd Schneider led for the first half of the 47-lap race, but he lost any chance of victory with a drive-through penalty for speeding in pit lane after this stop. His teammate Christian Albers came to the fore, and the young Dutchman pushed hard after taking the lead. Three laps to go, and Fassler, Matthias Ekstrom and Laurent Aiello battle for second spot. Fassler wasn't able to get among the Audis and finished off the podium. But it was the 24-year-old Albers, a former German Formula 3 champion, who deservedly secured his maiden DTM victory in his first season with a Mercedes-Benz factory team, completing the 47 laps over 8 seconds quicker than Ekstrom. Albers now tops the drivers' standings with Bernd Schneider on 14 points after 2 out of the 10 rounds.
I feel really great because it's just fantastic to win, and I think it's the best achievement for my career.
The next race for DTM will be at its spiritual home, Germany's Nürburgring. Meanwhile, in Germany, the American Champ Cars continued their European series as 68,000 fans packed the Lausitz ring for a double treat. The race got off to a good, clean start. In fact, there were no major accidents on the day at all. But there was to be a minor mishap during the first scheduled pit stops. As Michel Jourdain Jr. left his pit, he collided with another car, which in turn then nudged Patrick Lemarie into the outside pit wall, and his car sustained some right-side damage. Later, on lap 51, Sébastien Bourdais, the pole sitter running in second place behind Mario Dominguez, was forced to go round the pit lane barrier and across the grass, and was lucky to get away with it. Then, 31 laps later, Dominguez in the green number 55 car was penalised for blocking Bourdais earlier and forced to sit in his pit for an extra 5 seconds. Plus, he stalled the engine. On lap 138, after the final round of pit stops, Michel Jourdain Jr. got out of his pit ahead of Dominguez, who was followed by Bourdais. Just 16 laps remained. 4 laps later, Bourdais passed Jourdain Jr. to take the lead. It was a lead he would not surrender. The French driver led going into the final turn and held off Dominguez in a photo finish to win the German 500. Jourdain Jr. came in third. The Frenchman won by a scant 0.084 of a second. That had to upset Dominguez after his 5-second penalty. It was the second consecutive win for Bourdais, but his first on an oval track. After 5 of the 19 races, Bourdais is fourth in the championship on 49 points. Canadian Paul Tracy and Brazilian Bruno Junqueira lead with 66 points apiece, with Jourdain Jr. third on 56. The best placed American driver in this American series is Jimmy Vasser, 9th with 25. The next round is in Milwaukee, home of Harley-Davidson. The other treat of the day saw Alex Zanardi complete the final 13 laps of the race, which claimed both his legs 20 months ago. In that crash, Zanardi spun coming out of pit lane on cold tyres and was T-boned by Alex Tagliani at 320 kilometres an hour. Although he tried to swerve, Tagliani hit Zanardi's car and cut it in half. Zanardi lost 4 litres of blood, had both legs amputated and was put into an artificial coma. His condition was critical for days. Zanardi drove a replica of his demolished car. It was fitted with hand controls for the clutch and the throttle, and he braked using his artificial right leg fitted to a special pedal. He was watched by his wife Daniela and every other Champ Car driver in the place. Zanardi had a test session 2 days earlier and then symbolically completed the 13 laps he missed after the crash and told fans to think of it as a 20-month-long pit stop. "I owe this to you," he told them. "I have so much German blood in my veins that I'm almost German now." But he didn't drive a few slow parade laps. His top speed approached 195 miles an hour and got progressively faster. His last lap was quickest. and engineers had cut the car's power after his earlier test. The 36-year-old Italian was a top-flight professional driver and accepted the risks that came with his high-powered career. He survived an horrific Formula One crash in 1993 at Spa-Francorchamps when his car flipped through the air. He moved to the US, where he dominated the kart championship, winning the title in 1997 and 98. He returned to Formula One in 99 with the Williams team, but had a disastrous season, so he went back to kart and was in contention for a win in Germany when the crash occurred. After it was over, Daniela and former teammate Jimmy Vasser rushed to congratulate him. A banner at the spot where Zanardi crashed read, "Don't stop here, Alex." He laughed when asked if he'd noticed it. "I have overcome fear," he said, "but I wanted to enjoy one last time that incredible feeling you have when you drive a racing car at high speed. It was fun, but that was it for me as a racing driver. I love my family and I don't want to lose them." Zanardi doesn't remember the crash at all, but has good memories of the race up until then.
It was just sensational for me to feel the speed, to feel the cornering force, and I'm really glad that a lot of the race came back in my memory, because it was a good one actually. It would be a shame to not remember such a great moment up to the point where I had my accident.
However, Zanardi said he might try something like the Daytona 24 Hours. Well-wishers included former world champ and racing legend Emerson Fittipaldi and Alex Tagliani, the man who inadvertently ended his career. It took seconds for the first crash of the 2003 ASCAR Days of Thunder series at the Rockingham Circuit in Nottingham. On turn 1 of the first lap of the first round of the series, Ian McKellar Jr. in car number 25 spun into the wall after colliding with Michael Vergers. After 25 laps, Ben Collins on pole in the number 84 Chev Monte Carlo led from Roland Rayfelt's number 69 Ford in second, with Vergers up to third. A lap later, John Mickle in car 24 smashed into the wall, forcing the race to be restarted. The race was reduced to 19 more laps and Vergers claimed the lead. Mickle had been trapped in his car, and despite being taken to hospital, he was released later with no serious injuries. There was another incident when, just 5 laps from the end of the reduced race, Mark Proctor's Pontiac slid into the wall. Proctor was also unhurt. Dutch-born and Spanish-raised Vergers was unchallenged as he took the checkered flag under pace car conditions. Stevie Hodgson finished second and Vergers' teammate Ollie Pale was third. The second race saw Vergers make use of his pole position and start to pull away from the rest of the field. But Rayfelt, unlucky to miss out on a podium finish in the first race, was making the early running. From 7th, the German cruised past Stevie Hodgson, climbing up to 4th. Hodgson's day would get no better. On lap 23, he maintained the order of the day for big crashes when he collided with his Pontiac teammate Alejandro Lince and slid off the track at over 150 miles an hour. However, both drivers walked away unhurt. After 49 laps, Rayfelt completed his dash up the field. He showed the awesome speed that gave him the fastest lap in the first race as he forced his Taurus past Vergers and into the lead. Pontiac's Andrew Kirkcaldy was forced out with a puncture and damage to his left front wheel. After being passed by Rayfelt, Vergers was challenged for second place by Ben Collins' Chev Monte Carlo. On lap 49, fresh off the race's fastest lap, Collins got by. No one looked like catching Rayfelt as he took the 60th lap checkered flag, but Vergers won overall with Collins in second place and Rayfelt third. In contrast with the US series, ASCAR has just 7 rounds this year. Speaking of NASCAR, the non-championship All-Star event got away cleanly. 24 cars start the first segment and the top 20 advance to the second race, over 30 laps, and then the top 14 move to the final. There was trouble midway through the first segment for Joe Nemechek. He was able to recover and keep going. The opening segment was won by Tony Stewart, who pocketed $50,000.
And the first segment is over.
On lap 29 of the 30-lap second segment, a huge accident involved 6 cars. Bill Elliott, Tony Stewart, Terry Labonte, Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Mark Martin all traded paint, flatted tyres and ruled themselves out.
Tony Stewart got in it. And Mark Martin.
Now they're coming for the caution, and this will...
Jimmy Johnson took the lead from teammate Jeff Gordon 3 laps into the final race, then pulled away for an easy victory over Kurt Busch. Johnson took home the first prize. Last year, he won the first 2 segments and $100,000.
Last year he won the first 2
With so much money on the line and no points at stake, drivers were more aggressive than usual. That's understandable, considering Johnson's prize was $1,017,604. Stylish looks, nimble handling and a choice of 2 turbocharged engines should make this new convertible from Saab just as popular as its predecessor. Designed alongside the recently introduced 9.3 sedan, the convertible has an extensive structural reinforcement to make up for the loss of rigidity that goes with the folding roof. The top itself is fully automatic and folds away in just 20 seconds. Pop-up roll bars behind the rear headrests are deployed if the vehicle rolls over, along with seatbelt pretensioners on all 4 seats. Another unique feature is an available cargo wing rear spoiler that doubles as a ski or snowboard carrier for those days when the weather dictates that the 9.3 will be used as a ski-mobile instead of a sun chaser. Like the sedan, the convertible will be available in 3 trim levels: linear, arc and vector, and offer a choice of 175 horsepower low blow or 210 horsepower 2-litre turbocharged engines. The front end of the convertible is identical to the sedan, but from the A-pillars rearward, the sheet metal is all new. A nicely finished rear end and a hard cover for the folded top give the 9.3 clean, uninterrupted lines from front to back. A neat feature on the new 9.3 drop top is a full surround trim that softens the junction between the interior and exterior when the top is down. The standard colour is black, but it can be ordered to match the exterior colour of the car, or in steel grey, or in lime yellow if you insist. Saab has also confirmed a new small car called the 9.2, an entry-level wagon based on the Subaru Impreza WRX. Both versions of the 9.2 5-door will have all-wheel drive too, and either a 2.5-litre 4-cylinder or a turbocharged 2-litre 4, making more than 300 horsepower. Saab hopes to put the new model into showrooms within a year. Over 30,000 Speedway fans packed into the Slasky Stadium for the first event of the Speedway World Championship. Despite several absentees through injury, reigning world champ Tony Rickardsson was fighting fit and focused on the defence of his crown. But Danish rider Nicky Pedersen was the focus of the early attention. Pedersen, who finished 12th last season, crashed out in the first lap of the 4th heat, ruining his chances of qualifying for the semi-finals. The Dane was unhurt, but had a few words for the FIM referee Tony Steele when he reached the pit area.
It's Nicky. It's Nicky. Hi, Tony. Have you looked at the monitor? All right. Can you see Bjarne is turning left because you can see it's me that's coming?
Home favourite Tomasz Golob failed to get going until late in the race meeting. In Heat 21 of the event, he trailed compatriot Krzysztof Cegelski, but along with Lucas Drummel, he squeezed into the semi-finals of his home Grand Prix. To the delight of the crowd, Poland would be represented in the knockout stage of the meeting after all. Defending champion Rickardsson was in inspired form. The Swede, who was bidding to equal Ivan Morga's record of 6 world titles, cruised into the eliminators after winning every one of his heat races in emphatic style, and the final was to be no different. Despite pressure from Pedersen in the 3rd lap, who remarkably had recovered from his earlier crash and spat with officials to make the final, Rickardsson was really in trouble and notched up yet another Grand Prix victory. Pedersen finished in second place ahead of Lucas Drummel in third, with Thomas Gollop fourth. Ricardson is now in a familiar position on top of the FIM Speedway World Championship standings. He was asked if he was happy with the way the race meeting turned out for him.
Absolutely, can't ask for much better than that. And everything was going really good the first three races, but then I got drawn gate 4, was a bit of a worry.
You made it look easy.
I made it. I couldn't believe how good I made it, you know. But my bike's been working really good.
The next round of the championship is the Swedish Grand Prix at the Olympic Stadium in Stockholm. Finally, we go to Cannes for a touch of silver screen glamour. The streets of the French Mediterranean resort reverberated to an unusual sound. Some of the fastest and most powerful motorcycles ever made. The priceless hand-built racing bikes and their riders were in town for the screening of Faster, a MotoGP documentary directed by Mark Neal about 2 years in the life of the World Championship. Before the screening at the Riviera 8 Theatre, there was a launch party attended by many of the riders who appear in the film. Among them were Valentino Rossi, Loris Capirossi, Colin Edwards and Gary McCoy.
I've seen it, short cuts of it quite a bit, and, it's great that it's finally got to this stage, and I think it's going to open a lot of people's eyes, and it should be good.
Scottish actor Ewan McGregor, keen motorcyclist and star of Star Wars and Moulin Rouge, narrates the movie.
It's a strange feeling, because ride on the croisette with the bike, the helmet, the leather, is very strange, but good, exciting. Hopefully the movie isn't only about crashes. After the screening, the riders lined up with the real stars of the show. The film was shot at several different races over the past 2 seasons. Rossi and American John Hopkins have major parts in the production. The local gendarme decided the bikes needed temporary number plates. And, being highly strung track stars, some adjustments were needed too. Ewan looked over the bikes and decided that he'd like Capirossi's Ducati.
Yeah.
Here's hoping that Faster finds a distributor. We close this week with a tribute to a very human man of steel. But so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.